terrain can absolutely transform your experience playing Warhammer 40k. Nobody wants to play on cardboard cutouts, broken pink hills, pieces of paper, when you have amazing 3D printed terrain from Terrainify at your disposal. This beautiful terrain comes fully built and painted in one of 22 different camo settings. You can also get it unpainted so you can make it your own hobby project, as well as just the printed STL files, so that way you can print them at home yourself. Terrainify has so many different kinds of boards. They have different themes for whatever kind of battle you could possibly want to create. We've used Terrainify in our games to play very functional, high-level competitive Warhammer. This terrain is both beautiful, fun to play with, and very user-friendly. Terrainify is on a mission to elevate the quality of terrain that people play with worldwide. If you want to play on better terrain, you can support them directly on Patreon for just $3 a month. So what are you waiting for? Head on over to Terrainify.com, use discount code ArtofWar25 for 25% off your order, and start creating
Hello, everyone, and welcome. It is a Tuesday, and you know what that means at the Art of War Stream House.
What happens on Tuesdays?
We do tier lists.
Oh, really?
Yes.
What a surprise.
It is Tier List Tuesday up in the his house. So that's where we are. We're doing tier lists for Space Marine units, because I hear they got a bit of a shot in the arm.
Blow up, some would say. But we're not just doing troops. We're doing troops and their relevant transports. Oh, well, all transports, right?
That's right. So we've got everything from assault intercessors to drop pods to land speeder storms to tactical squads. Everything in there, and we're going to be ranking them how well they go on our thing. So, tournament staples, strong choice, perfectly average. Flawed choice, or the pit of shame.
Cross the Rubicon, nerd. I love that tier. I'm ready to put some things in that tier.
Unfortunately, I feel like you may not be able to.
I may not put anything in that tier now.
Yeah.
Nay, two months ago, it would have been the majority of things are in that tier.
Yes.
I'd be telling the regular intercessors to have another go. They didn't do it right the first time. Go back over the Rubicon. Try to Primaris into something better.
Yeah. Unfortunately, you had to take them, and now that you don't have to take any of these, they have gone down a little bit.
Yeah,
for sure.
That's an interesting thing to discuss, right? Because they are fundamentally better because they get a bunch of free stuff, 3 Thunderhammers on literally anything that can take them. But at the same time, they're no longer necessary. They're no longer you have to take these to fill out minimum detachments.
Exactly.
So, has it come out about a net same, or do you think they're still slightly up or slightly down?
Well, they went down in points, and you're no longer strong-armed into taking them, right? To make a list, you had to take some amount of troops, especially if you wanted CP, you had to take 3 units.
Yeah.
So you were strong-armed into taking them. Now, they went down in points, but so did everything else. They lost Armor of Contempt, which is a big deal. Mm-hmm. And now you're not required to take them. So the Arcs of Omen detachment does not require you to take troops if you don't want. You will run out of slots elsewhere, especially with the amount of points cuts that Space Marines have had. You will actually legitimately run out of 6 heavy, 3 elite, 3 fast, correct, or 6 elite, 6 heavy, 3 elite, 3 fast, or whatever combination you want to do. You'll legitimately run out of slots.
And this is where we come back to why there's probably transports on this. Because when you do come to the end of the day and you do end up having to take troops, all these transports that these troops can go in have gotten fundamentally better. Firstly, the guns that we're taking right now, we're not going to the obscene levels of Ren that we were in the previous, with everything has to be either a multi-melter or a las cannon profile or better. Now, there is grav cannons, obviously, who go to the Ren 4, and there are still multi-melters, but there's a lot more of that mid-strength, mid-rend out there. And so these things, not only do they get free war gear, but they live maybe a little bit longer in some matchups.
Well, they definitely don't live longer, right? They lost Armor of Contempt, and there's not... I would say there's honestly more high AP shooting now than there was before, because Space Marines are built out of it.
Only into the mirror match, and you are Space Marines, so you do have that. You can wield those same weapons.
But the cheap shell that's trying to keep your troops safe got cheaper and got a bunch of free upgrades. So generally, transports got better. But how about we start with the number one on our list, the first one up. we've got Assault Intercessors. So Assault Intercessors, they did go down. I believe they are the cheapest.
85 for 5.
They are the cheapest troops choice.
And I'm a fan. I actually do quietly like these for many a faction at the moment. But what do you think?
I think they're good, but I think they're good because they're the cheapest.
Correct.
They're not actually good. I mean, they're decent at combat, but they can't deliver themselves, which means that they are just reactive combat, which doesn't generally work, but they are cheap, and that's what they're good for.
They are shockingly cheap, and you just take a single Thunderhammer or a Power Fist, depending what your want is. And yeah, you got double fight to help into some matchups, but obviously they're not great with just what, 4 attacks on the charge each with a chainsaw. That doesn't really punch up that well.
Yeah, I mean, they hit decently hard, but because they're so slow, they're never going to get into the things that they really want to hit.
I managed to get 1 unit of Assault Intercessors into 10 Harlequin troops, and I can tell you that was a good time.
Yeah, I mean, they're going to rip that in half.
Time.
Did you fight twice?
I killed 9 of them, and I also tagged some warlocks on foot, so I fought twice and got the warlocks as well.
There you go.
It was a very good time. They can do those in some matchups, but naturally they're like you run into orcs and actually don't do anything, so they win on 5s. Even if you fight twice, you go into Custodes, they don't do anything, you know?
Yeah, no, I think they're pretty limited, but they are, keep coming back to it, they're cheap. And they are Primaris, so you can 1 CP transhuman them if they're on a point.
Correct.
So if you're on an objective and your opponent comes to peel you off, you can just be like, wow, it's gonna be more difficult than you think because transhuman. They're quite good objective holders. They don't contribute generally outside of that because they're not really getting into combat that much, but they're a decent choice. Like,
I think perfectly average, because that is, I believe, what they are. They are perfectly average. They won't carry you through a game. You can't, let them do any heavy lifting for you. But for a pinch hitting 85-point unit, I think they're just fine.
Yeah, they're all right, especially if you need to, for example, in the Black Templar vehicle hull spam build, you do want some units of Assault Intercessors to be cheap bodies to put in the transports because you're taking
and
the transports.
To threaten disembarks, to take away objectives, things of that
Exactly.
nature. I would like to point out that I'm drinking my tea this morning out of this beautiful turtle mug, who currently, and shockingly I would say, I got into the house and I found this guy. I'm like, well, what's his name? And they're like, oh, he doesn't have a name. And I was affronted, people. I was dead set.
That's Terry the Tortoise.
Angry. Is it Terry?
Well, I mean, it's really up to people in chat.
I was going to say, first person to slap down or first person to, super chat in a decent name for Senor the Tea Tortoise. Gets the name, this good fella. I'll just give you guys a close-up. This is a very cute boy. There you go.
Adam is new to the stream house, but is wise in the ways of getting people to super chat.
Wouldn't you like to own a piece of the stream house, a piece of the trap house?
Yeah. There'll be an inch on the wall. It'll be your inch, and we will send you a thing that says, "Congratulations, you have an inch."
I'll make a plinth for the Tea Tortoise. Anyway, what is next on our list?
All right, next up we got Heavy Intercessors. Intercessors not thick enough for you? What if they were thicker?
If only they could shoot twice. I always argued that why isn't this the dev squad? Why don't these guys all just have heavy bolters and then you upgrade to be super heavy bolters? Like, why are they just got essentially +1 strength on it? They're more expensive than regular intercessors. They can't shoot twice, and they got +1 strength on their guns. That's the only differentiating factor.
They did go down quite a bit. They went down from 27 to 23, so now 115 for a squad of 5, which is pretty cheap.
That's 3 wounds each at toughness 5. That's very thick.
Yes. So they are more spammable than they were before. Mm-hmm. And there's a certain amount of toughness 5, 3 wounds, 3 up armor save that is just going to be annoying to chew through, but I don't think these guys are it.
I don't understand what they offer. I don't actually get them. When I saw the design, I was like, oh yeah, I assumed that they were going to be like devs, but in a troop slot because they're big old chunky boys. I honestly think they could almost go back across the Rubicon again, but I think they're probably a flawed choice.
They probably are. I mean, but actually, they get their weapon for free, right? They get their heavy bolter for free.
Yes, but so you are a Space Marine main. Yeah, you do main Space Marines at times.
I have put a lot of work into Space Marines.
And I'm 100% a Space Marine main. I do not own any of these. I've never played with any of these. I do not know anybody in my competitive circles in Australia who owns or has played these guys. I think they are cross the Rubicon nerd.
I don't think they're cross the Rubicon nerd at all. I don't think they're amazing. I think they're probably the definition of flawed choice.
Yeah.
I don't think they're terrible. They have things that differentiate themselves from other troops choices, and there are even things that you want. It's really their offense. Their offense does not exist.
Well, so yeah, exactly right. 23 points per toughness for 3 toughness 5 wounds. That is a good price point. But then they don't.
It's not bad.
Then they
actually.
don't do anything.
They have access to the Gravis stratagem, so 1 CP, they get +1 save against damage 1.
Yep.
And they have Transhuman. Like, for 115 points, they're kind of a jerk to get rid of. They're not a terrible upgrade over a squad of, like, intercessors or something, but you're never going to be spending those points.
Yeah, I don't see the value.
They get +1 strength on their Hellstorm bolt rifles. It's literally the assault bolter.
They have every one of the intercessor guns with just 1 more strength. That's it. That's
Yep.
all they get.
And like +6 inch range. That's fine.
If they could freaking double shoot, dude, I would go for it. You could make some builds. There would be some play there to actually take a 10-man, put some buffs onto it, actually add some synergy to it. But yeah.
Yeah.
I'll agree.
They're not great. They do get now a heavy bolter for free. So either a heavy bolter, Hellstorm heavy bolter, or an executor heavy bolter in the unit for free, which is better, but realistically, they're a decent choice. Also, in some places, they're a better choice than others. So Black Templars, I think they're not terrible in Black Templars, because Black Templars does enjoy having just a lot of thick dudes running around.
Yeah.
With a lot of wounds. They're decent in Death Watch, because you are going to need to take them in order to take the Fortis kill team, I believe. They're all right. Their damage output is very lackluster for their points, but their points went down, but then their durability went down. You're probably never spending for these guys over regular troops.
When you can't make them do any heavy lifting, I just don't get it.
Yeah, they don't benefit from the double shoot strat, because the double shoot strat does not go off of intercessors keyword, which they have. They have the intercessors keyword for all the good it does them. It goes off of the intercessor squad keyword, which they don't have.
They don't have. It's pretty annoying. We did have a super chat in from the Fate Twister himself.
Sanoct, the Fate Twister.
So thank you very much. $2. Call it Terry with
no. The P is silent.
Like a pterodactyl.
Right, Terry the tortoise.
Terry the T-tortoise.
Terry the T-tortoise.
I was quite sure that was what we were going to end up anyway, but I thought I'd leave it over for Mug McMugson or something like that.
Yeah, I may have influenced Sanoct's grand design.
But fair enough. Thank you very much. You're now the proud namer of this very fine T-tortoise.
Yes, you'll get your certificate in the mail.
The plinth.
So Thomas here actually makes a great point. 4 aggressors really makes 5 heavy intercessors look really stupid.
Look so stupid. So 30 points for an intercessor. You have essentially, I would say, at close range, better shooting.
It's 23 points for a heavy intercessor, but you get 5 heavy intercessors for the price of 4 aggressors.
Yes.
And the aggressors are just
They have,
better.
oh look, they have combat. And not only combat, they have good combat.
Yeah, they have power fists.
They have freaking power fists.
And they have 3 attack space. Yeah,
4 attacks each on the charge.
Shock tactics.
And I would argue that the auto bolt gun dump or the flamer dump at 18 inches or 12 inches is better than what 5 intercessors would do at the same range brackets.
Yeah, so basically the only time you'd include heavy intercessors over aggressors is when you've already maxed out your elite slots.
Yes.
And then you can think about upgrading some intercessors to heavy intercessors.
Did you really want a 7th elite slot? You're just like, oh man, six in a bunch of characters was not enough.
So before we move on, I think the one place I could see this is in a swarm the board with just dudes.
Tons.
And then you take like 2 units of these guys, and they're your backfield. And while you have a bunch of just dudes in your opponent's face, just all over the board, like 100 Marine bodies on the board, because they're that cheap now. You have like 100 Marine bodies on the board, and your ones on your home objectives are these guys.
These dudes.
Then your opponent's probably not going to target them because they're too durable, and they kind of contribute to an overall durable
Which is why
scheme.
you said they're okay in Black Templars, because they can sit on the backfield with a 5-up.
Exactly.
And you're just pushing just masses and waves of dudes at them. The other one, I actually toyed with them when they still had Armor of Contempt. I made a T5 skew Dark Angels army, which was just Azrael bubbling at 4+ invuln on just as many toughness 5 guys as I could. Bunch of aggressors, bunch of eradicators, bunch of heavy intercessors. But even then, I just looked at the damage output and I'm like, unless you let me walk into 24-inch range, this army doesn't do anything.
Isn't going to work,
Doesn't do anything. Yeah.
I mean, that was the nice part about Mono Zinch Demons, was I could just deep strike the army 18 inches away from you and just be like, bah!
I didn't get shot having to get into range, I just got into range.
All right. Well, before we move on to the Impulsor, we've got Red Rum with a member for 2 months at the War Room Gold. Thank you so much. Hi, friends. What would a competitive Custodes list look like, excluding Forge World? What shield host would you pick? As a beginner of the faction, the All Wardens list seems to need more experience. Thanks for all that you do.
What a perfectly timed question.
What a great question. So, the All Wardens list is definitely not where I would suggest starting. It's a skew list, and Liam Hackett is an amazingly experienced player. Where I would start is, honestly, we have a game going up, I think, today.
Yep.
I'm playing it's Emperor's Chosen for you. You want to start there. Just start with Emperor's Chosen. And I think you can look at the list I did from today. It's a whole bunch of random infantry, but it works together really well and better than you might think. So I think I ran, Trajan, a bike captain. I would change the list to be 2 units of 3 shield guard, 4 units, or probably 3 units of 3 Sagittarum, 1 6-man Alaris Terminator unit, 1 3-man Wardens unit, 3 5-man Witch Seeker units, because those things are insane. And then you take a banner for +1 attack and ignores cover, and then you take a Knight Centura with the ignores cover +3 inch range warlord trait. And I think that list has a lot of random combos in it that can stack together and make your opponent's life miserable.
It'll be a great way for you to learn the faction, because essentially you'll have every tool, you'll have every stratagem available to you, and you can really just spread your wings, play that for like 20 reps, and just do something kind of different every time.
Yeah.
If you like really wanted to play bikes, you could put a unit of bikes in there. I don't think it's going to break the archetype, but I know a lot of Custodes players are really hype about bikes. It's one of their favorite units.
Bikes are super cool. Virtus Paraders are awesome.
But the key to that list is the 6 Alaris, and getting those 6 Alaris to just cherry ripe, like just carry those tough matchups. They are terrifying and do not get the respect they deserve. The shooting as well. Like when you
The shooting was very good. I think they killed like 3 Terminators in shooting.
You can double shoot their little guns, yeah?
Yeah, you can.
That's just, it's crazy. It's really good.
So before we move on, it is an incredible toolbox army, because when you get access to all the rules, like the vehicles and whatever, and Custodes don't get access to all their rules. But when you get access to all their rules and you can switch your shield host you're in, because
Katas
Emperor's Chosen
well.
can do it. You switch around your katas. You do all of that. You can staple together a whole bunch of niche answers to different scenarios that you might run into, and it gives the army a lot more play than you might think.
Yeah.
All right. For example, you can double shoot the Terminators with Salvus, have them ignore cover, and then make
to heal their wound as well. Or can you do
you could. Well, you can't do those together.
Okay.
But double shoot them and make them dread hosts, so their spears are AP2, and now you're firing a lot of shots that people aren't looking at. Anyway, let's move on to the Impulsor. I just really like the list. I think it's fun.
I think it's really fun. And it adds a new wrinkle to that faction that was just kind of getting a bit spammy.
All right. The Impulsor. 100 points. It went down. All of its upgrades are free. It went down quite a bit.
I actually like the Impulsor a lot. The ability to have the assault rule, so you can move the Impulsor, then disembark and move out of it, and it's really great for slinging around to things that are objective secured and denying primary. It's great. It's a great activator for shock tactics for one of your secondaries, and also it's a perfect thing to chuck in the middle full of chunky, possibly transhuman guys to get on and do Oath of Moment for you. So I think it's a great activator for especially Primaris heavy armies, and I think it's good value. So 100 points, and you can just take up bundle of guns just strapped to the top of it.
It is more guns than you might think. But let's talk about specifically Black Templar Impulsors.
so usually you have 2 Stormbolts or 2 frags on the front. They always have that regardless of the rest. Then you can put an 8-shot 2 strapped together Iron Hell Stubbers, strength 4 -1 innately. Then you could buy a pintle mounted heavy stubber, strength 4 -1. So you can have 12 shots, or Black Templars get to do something special. What is that?
They get to replace that single pintle mounted heavy stubber with a multi-melta.
3 points, just slap it down. Yeah. And so you can have a really well-rounded anti-vehicle, essentially it's an attack bike on top of an ATV.
Yeah. Well, you can also, it's more than an attack bike, because it's 16 shots at 12 inches.
Yeah, so the Gatling ATV.
Yeah.
But
The
it
ATV,
gets the multi-melter as well.
Yeah, it's,
and then twice as many wounds and a transport capacity.
it's a lot of guns. And if you want to go more anti-tank, you don't have to take the Sky Talon arrays, which are legitimately very good.
Yeah.
You can take the Bellicatus missile array, which might be better, honestly. It's just a missile launcher strapped to the top alongside the multi-melta, alongside the storm bolters. That's probably, honestly, where I would put the list now if I were to play it.
Seeing how the meta's evolving, that is where I'd put it as well.
Yeah, just having 3 solid anti-tank shots.
Yep, from each one.
Yeah.
It's still only about 100 points, and still with 5 guys inside, 6 guys inside.
Still with
possibly.
2 storm bolters to just shoot at things in combat.
Nothing. And obviously, the list that you'd be designing around this would have guys to do all the infantry killing. They're the things that are inside.
Yes.
These guys.
Yes. So I think Black Templar ones with literally just the same as everyone else, but with a free multi-melta on top, I think are up here.
I think the best possible Impulsor you can make right now is a tournament staple for the factions that want it.
For sure. So if you are Black Templars, Impulsors are good. Impulsors are real good for you.
Even if you want to take...
They're also spammable.
They're so spammable. But even if you want to take stuff like Crusader squads, having a couple of these with just, a couple of 4-man sword brethren in there that punch up quite well because they got enormous amounts of free war gear. Just slap them in there. It becomes such a nuisance, such a pest for people to try and get rid of.
So I think in Black Templars, it's up here. Everyone else, it's still good.
I think it's a strong choice for everybody.
It's a strong choice for everyone else, for sure.
I think only Templars and maybe some other niche stuff I can't think of right now. I think they're the only ones who want to spam them.
For sure, yeah. Because, they just fundamentally get a different vehicle than everyone else.
Exactly right.
Because theirs gets a free multi-melta, which is kind of ludicrous, but also kind of awesome. If you want to see that, I think I've played it a couple times in the war room.
Yeah. I was strongly considering possibly doing that for the Stream House RTT, but I did not. But if that hasn't been spoiled yet, I don't want to spoil it. I would have liked to have done that if I could have.
Yeah. Well, that would have been really obnoxious to play into.
It would have been fun, mate.
A lot of thick bodies. And then in Black Templars, they also get a 5-up inform.
Oh, exactly right. That's the other wrinkle, yeah? They actually adds durability.
All right, next up we have Incursors. You can barely tell the difference, but they have a little fiddly widget on their shoulders.
See, this is weird, yeah, because they actually have better combat. I think they are a better melee unit than the Assault Intercessors in a lot of ways.
Yeah, they're very similar.
Yeah,
they're very similar.
Pretty much the same melee output. You don't get the Thunderhammer, but you get a good gun. You actually have a way better gun, a gun that ignores any modifiers to your ballistic skill, so it just always hits on 3s.
No, they don't receive the benefits of cover against you.
Sorry, ignore.
So you ignore cover, which is significantly better.
I think they do ignore the ballistic skill modifiers as well. I think it's one of the special.
Oh yeah, they ignore any roll, hit roll, and ballistic skill modifiers because they're little fiddly widgets.
They do both. So I actually think, funnily enough, in an army that wants to be in tactical doctrine, possibly maybe Ultramarines, they actually do they actually do some DACA. They actually do some DACA, and they don't hit too badly for their points. How many points are they?
They are 18 points a mall, so 90 for a squad, which is decent for something that starts the game halfway up the board, or up the board and can sticky objectives, something we haven't even talked about yet. Space Marine troops, all of these can just, if they're standing on an objective, it is sticky in your command phase. That means even if you walk off, it still counts as yours until they get on it. Where that's really helpful is if your opponent shoots you off the objective. But I still score my points.
Yep, still mine. Sorry, still mine. I think Incursors are quite good, but the thing is, Incursors lose in the comparison game. We don't take Incursors because of the next one. So I think no matter where we put this one, Infiltrators have to go one higher.
Yeah, I think it's mostly that if you take Incursors and you have 10 points left, they get turned into Infiltrators.
Yeah. I think they're perfectly average.
Yeah, I think they're right here. They're not a bad choice. Yeah. They're not a bad choice.
Not a bad choice at all.
They're fine. They have things that make you want them over Infiltrators, but those aren't better than having a 12-inch no deep strike.
Well, that's the thing, right? You pay 10 more points. You actually are worse melee, worse shooting, but you're not taking these to do that anyway. Like, nobody is taking a Space Marines troop choice thinking they're going to do heavy lifting. No, I'll say this till the cows come home. Which is why Infiltrators just bring one of the best debuffs, one of the best actual rules to win a game of 40k. I think they're tournament staples.
Oh yeah, they're tournament staples.
Yeah. I don't build a single Space Marines list without it. I even try and build Ravenwing and Deathwing lists to try and get the OBSEC by only taking units that are Ravenwing. And I'm just like taking 5 Infiltrators is better than having none and breaking that. So it is kind of wild just how far they unlock the meta gameplay. Yeah,
they are so much better than the other troops choices at just being dudes, right? Assault Intercessors are cheap, cool, but Incursors are trying to be like this kind of unit that does things, and infiltrators just don't. They don't have combat worth writing home about.
They don't tempt you into trying to use them.
Right, exactly. They sit on objectives and they screen out your guys. They actually help out your other units, the units that'll actually be doing things. They help them out quite a lot because they have a 12-inch zone of your opponent can't deep strike into it, which means your opponent can't drop reserves in, but they also can't teleport in. And if you have a couple units of these, it's a big deal. So it's 144. I mean, the square of 12 inches is 144, and the square of 9 is 81, which means it's a lot more. That 3-inch gap, I mean, I know that's not actually the area. I'm not calculating pi, though. The gap is a lot more impact. Like the 9-inch to 12-inch is a big deal. Like it covers a significantly larger portion of the board. And also, it just blanket bans anything that comes in closer than 9 inches. So Gene Stealer Cult are a real problem for Space Marines. They really are.
So many of their rules.
Yeah, it's just you set up 2 units of these in the middle of your army, and they just can't come in.
Same for demons.
Same for demons.
Yeah,
it's a big pain for demons if you have infiltrators, because they're like, "Ooh, I can debuff your leadership and come in 6 away from you instead of 8." Then you're like, "No, you come in 12."
12. So 12. Also, this unit is sneaky, hard to remove. They're always harder to remove than you think. Between the smoke bombs, the transhuman possibilities, and the Helix Gauntlet, when they blank the first instance of damage, I have bounced off them with a Dread Knight. I put a Dread Knight into 3 of them. Just 3. And due to transhuman, just bounced.
Yeah, totally can.
It's insane. It is insane just how you can under and over allocate for these guys and just waste too many resources or allocate not enough, and all of a sudden a unit that should be dead is not 10 more points here, there, everywhere.
Yeah, so they just hold points. They just infiltrate up, hold objectives. That's what they do. And then in some matchups, they're just like, hey, you don't get to army-wide deep strike, go... Yeah. Like you take 2 units of these when you run out of other slots, right? Yep. You run out of your heavy, your fast attack, your elites, and then you're like, oh, I have about 200 points left. 2 squads of infiltrators. Because in like the GSC matchup, in the Demons matchup, in a wide variety of matchups, it helps keep you safe.
Agreed.
Right? Like it helps keep your units actually do things from getting hit. And it also lets you... I took 3 units of infiltrators before the points changes, when they were 120.
128.
I took them to LVO, and it came up in so many games where I would just be like, yeah, you can't... 3 units of these just cover the entire board, and you can't come in, you can't teleport, you can't do anything.
Which pretty much... It controls the tempo of a game and really lets you choose the engagements far more often.
It forces your opponent to play an honest game of 40 candy, because they can't teleport around the board, and they have to walk into you. So
it makes them plottable. It takes away the jank. But anyway, we've got 2 super chats. What's that first one?
All right, got Inception 418 with $5 super chat. Quick off-topic question. Why second Troop Master with Rose over Solitaire and Twilight List? Is it just trading out some speed for better keywords? Couple things. 1, he's cheaper. He's significantly cheaper. I think he's 20 points cheaper. 2, their damage output is roughly the same, although the Troop Master with a Rose doesn't cost you a CP, or costs you a CP, and the Solitaire does not. But he gets to go in a boat, and that is a big deal. Now, if you want to just take a Solitaire instead of the Troop Master with Rose, I think that's a perfectly viable choice. I like the Solitaire quite a bit. I want to take both. Points aren't really there. But I think both of those options are good. The Troop Master just makes it in over the Solitaire generally, because he can go in a boat and because he's cheaper. Although, if you want to take a Solitaire because you like how the Solitaire plays, you like what the Solitaire does, he is a good choice, and you can take him.
I think it's like a 5% difference.
Yeah.
I think the Troop Master is 5% better because he gets to go in a boat. And I agree with that. It's a little bit of protection when things are going worse, when things are going bad.
Yeah. It also lets you kick him out, goes kill something, hops back in the boat for 1 CP.
That's insanely good.
Yeah. All right. But you might see me playing a little more Harlequins in the future. Spoiler alert.
You don't say.
Yes. Erwin Buckle with a £4.99 super chat. Building a Dark Angels list for a tournament, mixed Ravenwing with 1 block of Deathwing terms. Is Ezekiel a good choice, or just take more Ravenwing and Infiltrators? Adam.
I honestly think he's a trap, especially if you only have 10 Terminators. If you're taking Ezekiel, you want more Terminators, or don't take him at all. In that list, I'd say don't take him at all. I think you have better secondaries that don't involve you having to be in the middle. When you only have 10 Terminators, people can usually chip, get through 10, and then Ezekiel will get exposed. In fact, I did something similar to somebody recently on a table. So I don't think Ezekiel's worth it unless you're all-inning the Terminators. Then he's quite a good choice.
Yeah.
In the tweener list, just take the minimum amount of Deathwing to give you the reliability that you can feel like you can go and hold objectives and create a triangle of 3 objectives and hold dominance, and then just smash in as much Dacker as you can. Double Talonmaster, Black Knights, Thunder Strikes, Tornadoes. I cannot tell you how good Tornadoes are. 3x2, the 3 units of 2 Tornadoes is what I want to be running at the moment. I think it is stupendous. And then some scouts in Storm Speeders.
Yeah. Yeah, and that Custodes game that should be going live today was Into Some Dark Angels that would not die. Hey! Not to spoil the lead, but it's a very good list. It's a very, very good list.
So I've been saying this to everybody. There's such a big target painted on the Deathwing Terminators now that taking less of them will be worth more in the long run, I believe. It's only a matter of time before somebody cracks the Deathwing matchup and then they start to lose value again. Like everything else that has been the only one defining polarizing unit in the game, and then you want to be a hybrid again. You want to be Ravenwing and Deathwing.
Yeah, basically what you're saying is like when you show up to an event, everyone's going to be like, "This is the unit I have specifically put in my list to kill
annihilate
you."
Yes, I cannot. If I want to win this event, I have to be able to beat you. Therefore, like 60% of my list is just to be able to dunk on your best unit. And so, yeah, you're going to want a tweener and never leave home without at least 5 infiltrators as a Marine player is the way I say it. If you got the points, take 10, take 2x5. Oh, sorry, if you're a Dark Angel, you can always take 1x10 to give you the option to play Stubborn Defiance, and then you just combat squad them.
Yeah, that was a really good play in our game. Was you just put 10 on the Stubborn Defiance objective, and I was like, oh, I can easily kill 5, but I can't easily kill 10 in one go.
Yeah, and it becomes awkward. So, anyway, that'd be what I do, mate.
Yep. All right, let's take a look at Intercessors, who used to be the choice.
They did. I mean, there was a time in the stream house where Intercessors were king of the Marine matchup.
Yes.
Because we would take 10, you'd buff them up, you'd double shoot them, you get 60 shots plus the 2 grenade launchers shooting twice, and you would actually waste people. They would rinse people off the table.
They would do a lot of damage that people were not ready for. And then they were just good as generic 5-man units. They were the cheapest, like, real unit that you could take. I mean, the Assault Intercessors were 5 points less, but I would take 5 points for some guns.
For a gun, yeah.
Yeah, for a gun that was like 15 shots, it's pretty decent. You took the Assault Bolter.
Yeah.
Now they went down in points.
Mm-hmm.
They're still a good choice. I think they're probably the best after Infiltrators.
They 17 or 18 now?
They're 18.
18 points.
So they're 90 points.
90 points, yeah. So the same as Incursors.
The same as Incursors, which...
Honestly... I think Incursors are better.
Yeah, Incursors probably are better now I'm saying it.
Incursors have a gun that is comparable.
They have forward deploy.
And they got melee and forward deploy.
Yeah.
Smoke grenade is also a little cherry on top there.
Yeah, you know what? I'm honestly willing to just go like
I think that is perfectly fine.
I think Incursors are actually in strong choice.
Yeah. I was about to say the same thing. As soon as I'm like, Intercessors are... Intercessors might be the bottom of strong choice or the top of perfectly average. I don't know.
I mean, I think it's fundamentally the same thing. It's just like, what message do we want to send? I think they are... Whoop, that is a Landspear Storm.
I think they're perfectly average.
I think they're perfectly average. They're definitely better than Assault.
I agree. I still agree that they're better. And like, outside some really niche matchups, so say White Scars Assault Intercessors, arguably better than the Dacker Intercessors.
Possibly, yeah.
Everybody else is better. Iron Hands are better. Ultramarines are better. Sunmen is better for the regulars.
Yeah, they're just a troops choice that holds your objectives. And if you have... if you have exactly 90 points, you probably take Incursors instead of Intercessors. Because basically it's once you filled out the rest of your army, how many points do you have left and how many troop choices are you buying?
Yeah.
And if you have 100 points, you're probably buying Infiltrators. If you have 200 points, you're probably buying 2 units of Infiltrators. But I could see buying 1 unit of Infiltrators, 1 unit of Intercessors, and the Intercessors just sit on your home objective.
Exactly, because everybody needs something to just sit at home. And if you're going to have something to sit at home, might as well have a gun and, a grenade launcher, you know?
For sure. I think they're decent. They're not bad.
When the Dev Doctrine thing came back in, where you can stay in Dev all game, I did reopen them and look at, like, what if I just took 10 heavy bolters on them? So the 10, the heavy shot ones, the 1 shot, strength 4 minus 2 damage, because they're going to be strength 4 minus 3. Damage.
And then in Iron Hands, they don't take the movement penalty, and they reroll 1s to hit natively.
If you're shooting into transhuman, it doesn't matter at all that you're strength 4.
The Stalker bolt rifle, 36-inch range.
Double shooting them for getting 20 shots plus 2 grenade launchers is not terrible.
No, they're not bad.
They're not bad.
They're not bad.
And this is why I think they're perfectly average. But if you either build into them and all in, and then I think you've possibly not made a great list, or
Yeah, I mean that's the way
slap
to put it,
5 in,
yeah.
forget about it. They sit in the backfield. If they shoot twice in a game, congratulations.
Yeah, that's probably what I say. You can make them decent, but you can't make them insane.
No.
All right, Landspeeder Storm.
Here's something that's insane. I think the Landspeeder Storm is the best transport, possibly the best transport in the game, or one of.
It's very good. It's super cheap. It comes with a heavy bolter. It can get scouts out after it moves, which is a really good rule every time they've done it.
Moves 18 inches base.
It's very fast.
That's more than this many, guys. That's easily more than this many. That is a lot of inches. Yeah.
How many is that?
It's more than this.
It's
that many.
That many.
That's a lot of fingers.
That's a lot of fingers.
It's a lot. It's more than It's
more than I can handle for sure.
But this, I think, for 50 points, guys. Movement 18, 7 wounds, toughness 5. Only the 4-up armor. Doesn't matter. The wounds characteristic is the only thing that matters for this price point. It is phenomenally good. When you compare this guy to other things of its ilk that we've had in the game, and I'm talking about things like Vipers, things like the single Vipers, it takes up a similar slot.
Yep.
Whereas they're comparable in points. Single Scout Sentinel is also another thing that's popping up here, there, and everywhere.
Yep.
This thing has better ballistic skill, arguably worse guns, but better BS than a couple of its counterparts. Totes around another unit with it and moves like legitimately way more. I mean, way more inches than its next available counterpart, and then can disembark after the move. It is a phenomenal good activator. Behind enemy lines getter, engagement fronts getter, oath of moment getter, shock tactic getter. It activates so many secondaries. I think it's tournament staples.
It's 100% a tournament staple for sure. It is a great utility piece. It's a great, cheap little unit that moves very quickly, and you can put it where you need it. Yeah. You can move block knights with it because it's a vehicle. You just put it right in front of them. There's a lot of ways to use this, just a 50-point body that just moves really fast around the board. It has a gun. It has some wounds.
2 guns.
It's got 2.
A Cerberus launcher as well.
Yeah, that thing always kills a guy somehow. I don't understand.
Somehow it does something every game.
If it shoots at a Gaunt, it'll kill a Gaunt. If it shoots at a Custodes, it'll kill a Custodes. I don't know. It always kills one.
Ridiculous.
Somehow. But the thing, it has a positive and a weakness over and worse than a Viper. Trade-offs. So the thing about Vipers that means that you might not take them is they take up a fast attack slot. So if you want to take a solo Viper, it's like 40, 45 points for...
And one of your best slots.
And a slot in the fast attack choice. And that's a real cost, and Eldar players still take them. This does not. This takes up a dedicated transport slot, which is you have as many as you want.
As many as you want.
But it means that you need to include a unit with it, which is almost certainly scouts.
It can only be scouts. Scouts or voidsmen.
Yeah, it can be voidsmen. I don't think they've changed that rule at all. But it's going to be scouts. Scouts get like free weapons, can get out after it moves, the whole kit and caboodle. So basically the way it works is, as Thomas points out in chat, is it's 110 points, but it comes with a free scout squad.
You're exactly right.
So
yeah. I've had this thing flip an objective and get behind enemy lines at the same time, and it's just been like with the scout squad getting out. So it's 4 points on behind enemy lines, 4 points on oh wait, no, never mind. I'm lying. It was 4 points on behind enemy lines and taking away 4 points on their primary, and I was like, wow, 8-point swing for 110 points. It's just ridiculous. And then it freaking has a guy with a melter gun in it and a couple of absolutely, shots and heavy bolter.
So
launcher.
The theme of this tier list is how well does this support your units that actually do things?
Yes.
And this supports it really well. Score points, take objectives, be places you need to be, but be cheap.
Beautiful. Next one is the drop pod. Now this is niche. It's almost tournament staples for the factions where it's good, but for the vast majority of us Space Marine players, it's not a consideration. It is tournament staple for Iron Hands, possibly Space Wolves, and I don't no longer agree with the Space Wolves one. Sorry, you go.
Well, apparently Voidsmen can't go in the transports anymore, which was good because that was
good. I didn't like that. I thought it was stupid.
Kind of cheesy thing. Belongs to scouts. Scouts go in, they're also the best in it, so it doesn't matter. Drop pods. So drop pods are very good in some armies, theoretically, right? So in Iron Hands, in Space Wolves, it's basically where we've seen the drop pod. It's devs in a drop pod. They come down, they shoot.
Yeah.
And the armies try to get around the massive weakness of drop pods in different ways, because there is a massive weakness to a drop pod, which is it does not fight in combat and cannot fall back. Yes. So if your opponent engineers a scenario in which they pile in and consolidate into the drop pod, you can just lose the game on the spot.
Correct.
And it does happen. I've seen the nightmare scenario where John has a picture on his phone that is just insane. It is 3 Orions in combat with a drop pod with Trajan in heroicing distance. Mm-hmm. So on his opponent's turn, can't shoot any of them. They're all in combat. And then Trajan heroics in, kills the drop pod, and then everything just shoots you again. Yeah. So the thing about the drop pod is that it's not just melee armies that want to use it against you. It is every army that wants to use it against you. Because anything that gets in combat with it can't be shot, even shooting units. So if a shooting unit can get into it and then have some mechanism to fall back and shoot, they're going to go in. Tau will charge this thing for 100%, sure. 100%. Because they'll then fall back, shoot, and just
Knights even charge him in, just tap dance.
Exactly.
Tap dance, and then just walk back out of combat, shoot, charge back into it. It's horrific.
Like the Warglaive will charge in, use the sweep profile, do like 1 wound, 2 wound. On the following turn, cut it in half and shoot you in the face.
Break on and back into the rest of your army.
Yep.
It is a freaking liability for so many armies, but then again, like it is essentially. So I think in Iron Hands, which Iron Hands is the only one I would say that more often than not you would consider it.
Probably.
And literally, you're just paying for a redeploy. You are paying points to deploy your Devastators perfectly after you've seen everything happen and who goes first and all these things.
Because you can drop the drop pod aggressively in Iron Hands and try to catch some really weird angle that your opponent didn't see and shoot into their stuff. That is almost certainly going to bite you in the ass. Because they will then charge the drop pod because it's put like off on the side, and all of a sudden they now can't be shot.
And they slingshot off that into your army, etc., etc. Yeah. So usually, and the better players, this is how they wield it. They will use it to just position the Devastators absolutely perfectly so they annihilate something while still being entirely safe.
Yeah,
and the drop pod not being used against them.
It just comes back into their deployment zone. There's a weakness.
What's the heavy gun you can take on it?
I don't know. The Deathwing missile launcher.
Against John at Cherokee, he killed a Dread Knight with that. It was so frustrating. Then he looks back and he's like, "It's a heavy weapon, 2 points at him." And I'm like, "Son of ridiculous. Son of a bee."
That is ridiculous.
I honestly think it's either perfectly average or the best of floor choice. I don't quite know though.
I'm gonna put it in perfectly average because it is good in some armies, but it is much worse than most people think it is.
Yes, I agree with that.
I know John is cutting it after taking it to Cherokee. He is no longer putting it in his Iron Hands. He's just going to replace it with a Rhino, which I think is better.
And Strategic Reserve, and I think it's lost value.
It's basically every time you use it, you have to either put it like way back in your deployment zone, or you risk that your opponent just uses it to end the game on the spot. And that honestly is just not worth it for most players, I think.
Agreed.
But I think it does have value there. Just please note that don't just...
It's a skill check.
Yeah, don't use this aggressively because it will cost you games eventually against better players.
Here's the much maligned Razorback. And I'm happy to talk about the Razorback because I haven't seen one since the first couple of months of 8th edition. Literally have not seen a Razorback on the table for like 5 years.
It's been a while. So they went down.
And they got free everything. They got double assault
free everything. The twin assault cannons are free for 100 points, which is pretty good. It's honestly
actually pretty good, man.
Yeah, like that's a lot of guns.
How many points is it?
100.
100. So it's exactly the same as the Impulsor, and this is where it gets a bit icky. So an Impulsor for 100 points moves further. Moves two. Is it 2 inches further? Do they move 12?
They move 12, and the Impulsor moves 14. The Impulsor is bigger, so it is...
It's arguably... correct, it's bigger.
It's probably harder to move around the board.
What troops are you taking to... What are you putting inside a Razorback?
That is an excellent question. The thing's...
6 guys.
6 infantry, but it can't transport Jump Pack, Terminator, Primaris Wolfen, or Centurions.
I heard can't transport anything good, is what I read there.
Yeah, you basically... Honestly, where I would consider this is in Iron Hands. And if you were taking either Stern Guard or Devastators, you could take this for 100 points, put 5 Devastators in. You give it the twin assault cannon. It then rerolls 1s to hit natively.
Yeah, at best at AP2 all game.
AP2 all game.
It's really quite cool, actually.
It's not bad. Unfortunately, not bad is where it
exactly
stops.
Right. It stops. Everything else about this is rough. It's only got 10 wounds here.
It only has 10 wounds. It's a Rhino.
Doesn't have the magical extra wound that the Impulsor has 11. Impulsor has 11.
I believe so, yes.
Doesn't have the magical assault vehicle stuff, and the Impulsor actually shoots pretty comparably when you have all the DACA options, you have more shots but less strength on the Impulsor. Essentially, it's 12 versus 12, but you get 2 Stormbolters, which is just 8 more shots, arguably.
Yeah.
And yeah, you don't get the cool get out after your move rule. You don't get the -2 to your charge strat, which we forgot to mention, by the way.
Yeah, the Impulsor has a 1 CP, either -2 to be charged or fall back and shoot.
Yes.
I don't know. Okay.
Yeah, okay.
That might be one of the best strats in the game.
It's fantastic. It's so overlooked. I think it just dies in the comparison.
I think it... So the thing, it can transport shooting units, whereas the Impulsor cannot. If the Impulsor could transport shooting units, then the get out after it moves would be cancer.
Well, that's true, actually. Are we talking about, like, possibly the new Desolator Marines, if only they were a thing?
Who knows? We'll find out in the future.
They might be a thing.
But I think the Razorback is just going to make it in roughly around...
Yeah, I would have put it in Floor Choice, but it's fine.
I want to put it better. I want to put it higher than the drop pod. Just
yeah, I do want to put it out of respect.
Out of respect.
If you
I hate the pod. I think it's so terrible.
You can't Las Plaz anymore, can you?
No, that's no longer a thing. Because I think you had to kit bash that. So you can take a twin las. It's the twin assault cannon.
It's twin assault cannon all day.
Honestly,
all day.
I'll put it here.
Yeah, that's fine.
It's not great. It's fine.
The pod literally gets to go 1 tier up because it is actually good, very good for one army.
Yeah, and Space Wolves try and get around the being tagged issue by only having 1 unit of shooting. Like the only shooting units are the ones that come in the pod,
and also being ferocious in combat. If you want to try, and, cool.
Exactly.
You want to use the pod against me? I'm going to use it against you. You got closer to me. You're dead.
Yes. Red Rum, I believe that is going up today. I think it won. Yes.
I just went through it this morning and timestamped all the swear words that. If you hear the bleeps, there's only 3 that I found. If there's any more, I do apologize. I think I was pretty thorough this morning.
Yeah, I think you got all the big ones.
Next up is the Venerable Rhino. Dude,
Yes.
I am a huge...
That's a normal Rhino, but with Ballistic Skill 2.
It's a Venerable... Yeah, it's a Venerable Rhino. That's actually pretty good. I'm a huge fan of a Rhino. I'm a huge Rhino fanboy. When I play with my Grey Knights, it's the favorite unit in my army.
Ew.
I know.
Did the Grey Knights... Did the Grey Knights get a Razorback that has twin assault cannons?
It does, yeah.
But they're not Iron Hands.
They don't get Dev Doctrine.
Yeah, no, it's much worse without being Iron
without
Hands.
being Iron Hands,
Yeah.
and without being AP2 all game, it's nowhere near as good. I actually looked into that because I thought Pergs in a Razorback. I'm like, this could be a thing. I'm like, no, it's not a thing.
Yeah. Also, Red Rum, you can hit me up in the Custodes channel on our Discord if you want to if you have any questions or anything you want to talk about. All right, so yeah, it just transports dudes. Like the rest of this list, the things that place high are the things that don't pretend to do anything other than just do a roll.
I'm a box.
I'm a box.
Do not tell me I'm not
I'm
a box,
box.
sir. I believe I'm a box.
I'm a box.
I've been told I'm a box.
I'm a box.
I'll act like a box.
I'm a box for dudes. You put dudes in the box, and the box has dudes in them. And they go around being a box with dudes.
I think this is strong. I think Rhinos are a strong choice.
I think so. They're not like breaking the bank
they go
or
right
anything.
next to the Impulsor, I think.
They're not as good as the Impulsor.
They're not. They're 1 down from the Impulsor.
Yeah, I can put it there.
Yeah, I think
they're all right. They're 70 points. I've never been, or the 80 points.
80
sorry,
points.
I have never been as much of a fan of the Rhino as everyone else. But I can admit that it is a good unit.
It is a great unit. 80 points. You get two free Stormbolters on it now. And you should absolutely stop there. If you've got 5 points left at the end of some list, which I have had, like my list at Cherokee had a Hunter Killer Missile that I shot it 4 out of the 6 games. Did not hit.
Of course.
Standard. Some of the truths of our great game.
It got lost on the Hunter step of the Hunter Killer Missile.
That's right. If you buy a 1-shot weapon, it will miss. Just guaranteed.
I had a sister's list about 2 years ago, 1.5 years ago, where I took 5 rhinos filled it with people, and I put Hunter Killer Missiles on all of them because that was back when you could reroll 1s on that and stuff, and they were decent. They would usually account for an enemy vehicle for 25 points, but one unit taking a 1-shot weapon,
nope.
Nah,
nope. Yeah, I think it goes perfectly well in a strong choice. Last one
is the Humble Tactical Squad. So they are more expensive than Assault Intercessors for good reason. And that reason is free stuff.
So, essentially, the amount of free stuff you can take is actually not too dissimilar to Scouts. You can take Thunderhammer, Combi Weapon, Heavy Weapon, and Special Weapon, on a 5-man?
Yeah, so everything's free.
Yep.
Absolutely just everything they can take. So the Sergeant can take 2 things. One off the Combi Weapons list, and one off the melee weapons list. I mean, you can take a pistol, but you're not going to.
No.
So you take Combi Melta, Thunderhammer.
Yep. You
can then take a heavy weapon, and that's it, honestly. That's what you can take. But it's Multi-Melta, Combi Melta, Thunderhammer, which is pretty good. If you're taking 10 models in the unit, which you probably won't, but if you do, you then get a free, like, Meltagun and another Multi-Melta.
See, if you were gonna take, for some reason, 10 intercessors or a unit of assault intercessors and a unit of regular intercessors, I argue that 10 tactical marines is better. If you're just gonna have 5 guys sitting on the back of your objective anyway, you just take a 10-man, you get multi-melta, melta gun, combi melta, 5 guys, and then you get 5 nothings to sit in the back. You were going to do nothing anyway.
That is decent.
I argue that is better than 10 intercessors or 5 intercessors, 5 assault intercessors.
Yeah. So the only change the only comparison is you would get a Stern Guard squad for 100 that has 3 combi meltas and 2 multi meltas, which honestly is more expensive. 10 more points for 1 more melta
and no obsec.
And
the loss there.
Yeah, no base obsec, no sticky objectives.
Yeah.
So honestly, that second half of the tactical squad is probably better, especially since I think Iron Hands are really, really good. But Iron Hands are the unit that are the army that wants random heavy weapons on random units.
But here's the issue: you buy 5 more guys to be for those 5 for the half of your tac squad to be as good as the guys as the to be as good as a Stern Guard, and that's where you kind of lose me. I like Stern Guard. I like them more than TAC Marines, and I think if you have troop slots to fill, you are filling them with infiltrators first and foremost, and then it trickles down from there.
Just stop people from deep striking at you so that they can get shot by your guns.
I don't think they are cross the Rubicon nerd. I'm not sure if they're perfectly average or floor choice there.
I think that role where you take either a 10-man and split it so you get a 90-point unit with 2 multi-meltas, 2 combi meltas, and a Thunderhammer, and 1 unit that just sits on your home objective, it's not bad.
It's not bad.
It's honestly probably better than an intercessor unit and a Stern Guard unit for 10 more points, right?
Yeah, that's fair.
You know, if you have an intercessor and a Stern Guard, just take a 10-man tactical. I didn't even think of that. That's a great suggestion. If you're taking a 5-man squad, you get a multi-melta, combi melta, probably not worth it because you lose out on Primaris.
How weird is this that we're suggesting to take more tactical marines rather than less? I'm suggesting, though, if you're going to take them, you take a 10. Because a 5 just does nothing for you.
You basically turn it into a 5-man, sit on your home objective, never get shot, and a 5-man has 2 multi-meltas, 2 combi meltas.
And like devs in a pod, this is another thing to go in a pod when you want your devs in strategic reserve. Or
so it depends on what tournament you're at. Because some tournaments will not let you combat squad and then put your things into transports. Yeah. Even though that is
clearly the intent.
Clearly the intent, and also the example in the book is combat squadding and then putting it into transports. But double check with your TO because some places don't let you combat squad and then put half of it in the transport.
So top of floor choice is where I think I want them.
Yeah, I could see that. I mean, I'm willing to put it in perfect.
Yeah,
it's only Iron Hands.
Yeah,
it's only Iron Hands.
I was trying to think if Salamanders had a play for that, like double multi-melta, double combi. Like, I think Salamanders could be another option, but then you have to, of course, that's the Vulcan list. That's got Eradicators. That's got other things that just do what this will do better.
Yeah, I mean, I don't hate it, honestly, in Salamanders, because in Salamanders, you're probably going to take Stern Guard, and honestly, I think Stern Guard for 100 are worse than 90-point tactical, than half of a 10-man tactical squad with 2 multi-meltas, a melt gun, and a combi melta.
Yeah, I think that is better than having, like you said, than 5 intercessors, 5 Stern Guard.
Yeah.
I think this is better.
So I think some armies can make that work, but mostly, I think outside of literally that, I don't think they're very good at all.
Me either. So we gave 2 examples of where they could possibly, maybe, if you take 10 of them, be better.
Yes.
Not a strong choice.
Not a strong choice. Below average for sure, but a flawed choice, one could say. There are ways you can force it to work, and they're not even bad, but they require specific chapters and a very specific loadout, and I think then you can make it work. But even there, you may not want it. If you do want it, then you can include it.
Yeah.
All right. So this looks like
it's not unhealthy.
Not unhealthy.
If you were going to drop one thing from this list into Cross the Rubicon nerd, what would it be?
The drop pod.
I would have put the heavy intercessors.
Yeah, but I don't think the heavy intercessors require that. I think they're fine.
Literally, give them another rend, or give them another shot, or something. Their guns just aren't good enough.
Yeah,
they're just not good enough.
They're very pillow-fisted, for sure. They just don't put out damage. They hit almost identical to an intercessor unit.
Let the Sarge take one half of an aggressive fist. Let him take one aggressive fist.
So
right now they just, at least a regular intercessor squad gets a Thunderhammer, you know?
Yeah, unfortunately they've already made the kit, so I think their loadout is set.
It's too late now.
So going over this in tournament staples, we've got Infiltrators and the Landspeeder Storm. In Strong Choice, we got the Impulsor, and it is a tournament staple if you are Black Templars because they get a free multi-multa. Then we got Incursors and a Rhino. Then in Perfectly Average, we've got Intercessors, Assault Intercessors, and the Drop Pod. In Flawed Choice, we have a Tactical Marine Squad, we have a Razorback, and we have Heavy Intercessors. All right,
Razorback.
Pretty happy with that, honestly.
Me too. I think it's pretty good. I think we can all be happy that we're doing this month, because had we done this, 2 months ago, it would be so many Cross the Rubicon nerds.
Yeah.
In Nephilim, you just did not take troops. You just did not take them at all. Without sticky objectives.
You took exactly as many as you're required to take, and no more.
Yeah, exactly.
Absolutely
Whatever
no
would fill
more.
that battalion, the cheapest, the easiest. Yeah.
Now they have to actually earn their keep in comparison to other units.
Yeah.
So, I think they are better at doing that than they were before.
Yeah, I agree.
All right. Before we head out, I want to thank Taggy I or Taggy or Tag2 or whatever. Welcome to the War Room Bronze. Glad to have you.
Welcome.
Not sure if that's a Schlock Mercenary reference or not, but either way, happy to have you in. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.